How you all doing, guys? Welcome to the People's Revolution! Woo-hoo! Starting to fill up now. How good do these flags look, eh? Awesome. You guys can stand there for as long as you want. Well, I'm feeling pretty good, guys. Give me a cheer if you're feeling good. How can so many people be feeling good in the middle of a pandemic? Crazy. We'll get to that soon. Right, guys. We'll start off by paying our respects to the Yagara and Turrbal people, the original land custodians. They now share the custodianship of the land with all of us. The difference being, they have 100,000 years of knowledge, wisdom, and experience that is unrivaled. Hence, the long continuing attempts of genocide against these people. If they get taken out properly, the wisdom and knowledge goes with them. So they need our help now as much as we need theirs. Please welcome Brother DJ and Sister Yariko onto the stage.
Sorry about the shaky camera, guys. Currently on 2 viewers. Alright, we'll fix this up, sorry, just a sec.
Your way. Fingering. Awesome. Maramba Biji. Balka Maramba Nugru calling out to the good spirit. Naimala Tanijananya Dag, and I'd like to welcome you all here onto the Yagara Aboriginal Language Group. Anya Nare Derek, my name is Derek Oram Sandy, one of many traditional Aboriginal people and traditional owners of the Brisbane region, a part of the local Yagara Aboriginal language group in which I'll be representing today and sharing my experiences in regards to the vaccine for my people, both on my mum and father's side, and to share some of the history and reflections of the past on this genocide that continues in this country. You see, Aboriginal people, we didn't have rights in this country to vote until 1967. We were classed as flora and fauna in this country. We had particular rules that we had to stick by, and certain considerations of Aboriginal people were tucked under as public servants into the government organisations to then still reflect those rules upon our people and keep our people in that oppressed area. You see, this genocide's been happening for over 250 years in regards to the control of the government that we live under today. And that history is showed out throughout the land in some of our memorabilia, such as Boundary Street, Boundary Road. Every single major city in Australia has a Boundary Street and a Boundary Road. Those Boundary Street, Boundary Roads were the boundary lines when the new society placed their ways upon the world, the new Western world come into Australia, and they would keep traditional blacks, traditional Aboriginal people outside of those boundary areas. And the only people that could come into the new society at the time and cross the Boundary Street in West End to come into the new way of life were people that had a pass that was given out by the government with your name on it and your ancestor's signature. You see, I've had many ancestors both on my mum and father's side that have been forced into that way of life in checking in to the Boundary Street, Boundary Road, just like the QR codes we have today. It's much deeper, ladies and gentlemen, this genocide that's conducted upon the people. Today I'm sharing with you a special ceremony and a welcome to country. And a welcome to country is to welcome the good spirit and to welcome the ancestors of all walks of life as we all gather as one, Kunyara, on the land, and welcomes can be done for celebrations, funerals and many other things. But one of the main things a welcome to country is conducted at is the way that we speak the truth on the land. We all sit down on country, the Mother Earth that provides for us through the food and through the plants and trees and the animals, and we sit down and we discuss the issues that we have in the country as proper law, L-O-R-E, the law of the land. And it's sad to see, even in my own community, we have certain Aboriginal people, Torres Strait Islander people, that are very much brainwashed by that way. They don't know how to sit on country and speak the truth on country without getting upset. And you see, the government love to play on emotions like that. So that's why I'm here today, to bridge the bridges between this minority group and my own minority group, to remind us all
What I'm gonna do.
that we are getting put through the same things, the same sense of control, the same sense in the rules, not crossing the border, able to cross the border. You see, I run my own business, a small business in which I've been providing to the government schools for the last 3-4 years, doing cultural education, sharing about the stormbird, Tawong, sharing about Bundle, the conjoboy tree, and sharing with the next generation and breaking down racism and sharing the truth for the people. Now, I'm not allowed to do my job and share the knowledge that I have in schools because I haven't abided by this mandatory vaccine. But I say fuck the mandatory vaccine. Because you see, the bloodlines that run through my blood is Aboriginal ancestors that were murdered and killed by the system. And this bloodline connects to the land and the songlines that we live within. I can travel the borders without no government telling me what to do. It's how I see the land. I see our law, the law of country. So I'm going to sing up the good spirit in my language of the Yagara language, the local tongue, to welcome everyone here onto this special country. Before cities were built, before this park was a park, these old bunyis, the bunya pine tree, marks this territory. Up on the high point there, the bunyi marks this territory of an Aboriginal gathering place. A gathering place where law is spoken about, where truth is spoken about, and where people are put to the point about the wrongdoings that they do in country. And today, that's what it's about. It's about all of his families here, friends that are gathering together to fight for what's right. I lost 2 elders in the Gungaloo country of Mount Morgan, Rockhampton, to the vaccine just before New Year's. And last time I spoke to you, those 2 elders were alive, and then now here I am trying to stick strong for my bloodlines and speak for those dead loved ones. They didn't want to get the vaccine, but the system had forced them to get it, to keep their money in work, to keep their welfare. If they wouldn't get it in the community, they were getting kicked out. They were getting segregated, put on the fringes of society, just like they did in the earlier times. And my great-grandmother, she died seeing that system dominate her people, and she was born into it, seeing that system dominate their people. So I'm sick and tired of the system thinking that they can make choices for the First Nations people of this country. We have 65,000 years of health knowledge in our bush medicine, in our bush tuckers. And I know there's some mob out there trying to disturb this gathering and disrespect the word of a TO right now. And I suggest you remember our LORE, because the spirit is watching. So I'm going to sing this spirit up, the good spirit of the country and the land, because we are here together to put a stance and to show people that the old way of connecting up without internet and word of mouth, we can still gather, no matter how much they shadow ban us of Instagram and Facebook with their new 5G towers, quieting our voices, lowering our voices. That's why we just turn up with spirit. This is where the truth is spoken about, not behind 4 walls at the Parliamentary House. They've never spoke the truth. Dingare maranba nagara. Yagara yagara kepanara belan belan. Megan bangare dingare naran nagara. Maranba nagara balka daga nagara balka kora nagara. Can we all clap our hands together, get the good spirit. If you're standing up, stomp the ground too, wake the Mother Earth up that provides for us. I'd like to welcome you all here onto sacred country, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And I am here at the forefront with my brothers and sisters here, Auntie Yaraka, Bales there, and the Bales family. We share the good spirit. We're here to walk one with you, step by step of the way, because we got to do it together. Majority rules, so we got to gain those numbers and speak that truth and get more mob down here so we can fight for all of our rights. Mandatory vaccines is bullshit. Your way.
Who do you think that media is with that big camera there? Looks like a mainstream media's camera.
Just to reiterate what Brother Derek said, and to acknowledge that welcome to country and understand what exactly that is. It's an ancient diplomatic protocol that's been carried out in this country since millennia. So to have a local custodian welcome us to country is very important. And hopefully if anyone is organising community events, you pay respect and follow proper protocol by getting a local person to welcome you on to country. It's got nothing to do with being politically correct, it's got nothing to do with reconciliation, and you do not need permission to acknowledge country. So every single person here can acknowledge country, because without country we're nothing. And without our kids we're nothing. That's why we're here fighting today. For country and for kin. For those of you that don't know me, my mum's a Wanneroo, a Bunjalung woman from New South Wales. My dad's a Birri-Gubba Gungaloo man from central northern Queensland. I was born and raised in Redfern, but my 3 children and grandchildren were born here on Yagra country, just up the road. So Yagra country is a place of great significance. Where we are right here, we had a lot of very strong connections to Musgrave Park here in Meanjin. My parents and grandparents fought and helped establish a lot of the organisations here. As Brother mentioned, these sacred trees, everywhere you look around, please remind yourselves that we are standing on sacred, sovereign land. Treat it with respect. Take your rubbish with you, and remember that we are all legacy holders. We need to remind ourselves to live by example, because what are we leaving for future generations? And I just want to acknowledge Brother Tricky, all the volunteers that make something like this possible. I remember the first event in King George Square, about 1,500 people. To see how much it's grown, but also to see the sacrifices and the commitment of Brother Tricky. It comes at a huge cost. So Tricky, on behalf of all of our family, the freedom fighters, we want to let you know that you are not alone. And Brother Tricky has had to swallow his pride and ask for help. Because organising events like this, he's been invested personally, financially out of his own pocket, the energy that he's invested, the time. So I encouraged him to start up a Patreon. And he was very uncomfortable because as independent freedom fighters, we don't like asking for help. But this is not an independent movement. This is the people's revolution and we need people power. So if there's one favour that I could ask every single one of you today, for the price of a cup of coffee a month or your juice, whatever you drink, your beer, $5 a month, even if just a quarter of us here today made that pledge to continue the fight. And remember, we're doing this for our children and future generations because it's our body, our choice. No one will tell me what's going into my children and grandchildren's body. That's why we need to continue to stand strong. And as Brother Derek said, if there's anyone that knows what this genocide, this medical tyranny, and this corrupt government, if there's anyone that knows how to continue to fight, remember we've been doing this for 250 years. So it is a very humbling experience now to have so many other brothers and sisters from all around the world join the fight for our freedoms and for our children, for our future. So on behalf of our people, on behalf of a proud, strong First Nations family with countless generations of healthy, unvaccinated people, we are here, we ain't going nowhere, but the only way forward is together in unity. So please continue to stand staunch with us. And we are in for the fight for our lives. But these communities that are growing, that Brother Tricky has initiated and the whole People's Revolution movement have started, this is a lifelong movement. This reassures us that our children and future generations will be okay. Because look around and see how many people are gathering. How many people across the world are standing in unity. And to those that are still operating at a lower vibration, all we can do is continue to pray and hope that they too one day wake up and join us in the fight when they realise the truth. So on behalf of our people, Brother Tricky, all of the volunteers, the Deadly Guardians, legendary work, love yous all. Please sign up to the Patreon, just $5 a month so that we can continue this life-saving work that TPR are doing across the country to help save our future and continue the fight for freedom. Yahweh.
You go, you good thing. Guys, I'd like to, before we really get into it, I want to welcome everybody and invite everybody to share in a minute of silence, dedicated to all the frontline warriors over the last thousands of years in conventional wars and unconventional wars like we're experiencing now. Those that have lost their lives, those that will lose their lives, those that have been tricked and manipulated into taking vaccines not designed to actually save us, and paying the ultimate price as a result. 60-second silence, guys. While you're paying your respects, I also want you to envision the future world where you want your kids to be growing up in. I want you to really close your eyes and see the peace, the harmony and the love in the future world. 60 seconds, guys. Oi, you know there's a minute silence going on up there? Have some respect. Thanks, guys. And for those muppets at the top of the hill, don't want to hear the truth, here's the truth. No one was getting sick before the vaccine was here. No one.
Go see the Muppets.
Now that the vaccine is here, we've opened the borders only to the fully vaccinated. We've achieved 90% vaccination rate. And this so-called virus has gone through the community like wildfire. Guess what? It's not a virus. It's whatever crap is getting injected to your body, that's what's spreading around and harming everyone. Wake up to yourself, you clowns. Well, that's the truth anyway. So that's apologies to all the new people that came here today. How many new guys we got coming here today, guys, for the first time? Nice. I'll just let you know that it normally doesn't pop off like that right at the start. How many vaccinated people we got here with us here today, guys? Stick your hands up. Nice. I want to thank you guys especially for coming down and having the courage to put your hand up and join with us, because it's not about vaccination status, it's about realising that we are defending each other's right to make that choice. So now that the vaccinated know that they are welcome here, I want us to get a count again. If you're fully vaccinated, guys, stick your hand up in the air. Let's see how many of you guys are joining us here today. Quite a few. That's awesome. We welcome you to the TPR family, guys. You guys have got it going on. So for all the new guys, I just want to explain to you guys the logo. If you look at one of these TPR flags with the logo on it, you see that there's a dark arm and a light arm. That symbolises people's differences, perceived differences. They start off separate, but they flow down to the bottom and they come together. When they unite, they create the line. The line is a symbol of power and strength. You'll notice that the fingers are in the shape of a V. V is for victory and peace. So overall, you have people overcoming the differences, uniting as one to create a powerful and strong unit. And through this powerful and strong unit, we will achieve victory through peace. That is the People's Revolution, guys, and I welcome you all here today. Some quick housekeeping before the rally started. I noticed there's 3 toilets here and I had a line up of about 50 metres. And I walked up to where we paid about $2,000 for 12 toilets and there's no one up there. So I thought I'd better mention it to you. If you're busting, don't wet your pants. Try walk up there about 100 metres where all the food stalls are. So we got some food trucks up there as well. On the right hand side of the food trucks, there's about 12 portaloos, guys, so you should be pretty comfortable. I heard you call last time, I couldn't let you wet your pants again. We got first aid at the QHPA tent. We've got a merchandise, where's the merchandise tent? I can't even see them. Merchandise tents on the right hand side of the stage, as that's with the TPR Connect tents. We'll explain what the TPR Connect group is very soon. So we're going to have 2 speeches, guys, before the march. Who's getting ready for the march? So we got 2 speeches before the march. After the march, we come back in here and we've got 3 more speeches. After that, we're going to start the party. Now, you don't have to stay around for the party, guys. We had December 17th. The purpose of the festival we had was because on December 17th, the new rule was there was to be no outdoor festivals for unvaccinated people. So on December 18th, we had an outdoor festival, invited everybody down here.
How great is that?
So we're going to have some music after today's march as well, after the speeches after the march. You don't have to stick around, but I'd invite you to do so and get your party on.
Both ways.
Right guys, the guys from Butchie Kombucha are here again supporting us today. Make sure you support those guys, man. They're awesome. They're always here to help us out. 60 kilograms of sausages, 20 dozen eggs for today's barbecue were donated by Albert Hackfoot, owner of the Tingalpa Hotel. Now, Albert, as a business owner, has been devastated by these mandates and has had to follow them under strong objection. Albert is working with a local action group in Toowoomba to help return the rights of business owners so they can welcome in all of their customers regardless of their medical decisions or medical history. Speaking of donations, guys, we've got some TPR donation tins going around. They're red and we've got a TPR sticker on it. Every war we need resources, time, energy, manpower, and money. Some people can't give everything. If you don't have the money, that's fine. Try and help out in some other way. Now guys, since there are so many new people here today, I want to explain a bit about myself. The people that have come to know me in the movement in the last 5 years, many more so in the last 2 years specifically, they connect with me and trust me. Now I feel that, which is why I can stand up here and say that openly to you. For the newcomers, I'd like to give you the quick version of my life to this point. So when I was a kid, my dad was driving me to school and I remember feeling discontent with the state of the world and how it operates. As a kid, you're dragged away from your family and you're forced to go to school. When you finish primary school, you go to secondary school. After that, you're forced into the workforce. You'll work till you're 70. You might have 3 years of ill health and then you pass away. And I wasn't happy with that. There was something better and I didn't like the way that was going. Around the same time, I was having a recurring dream as a child. It was my mum and my sister. We were holding hands walking on the school oval. There was these little things hovering over us. They were either government or police, and they were surveilling us. And there's heaps of other people walking around casually smiling like there was nothing wrong. I felt very uncomfortable and I was wondering what the hell is going on? Why are these things watching us? And we'll get back to that dream soon. In the first year of high school, my dad took myself and my sister into his room, turned off the lights, lit a candle. He said, sit down and stare at the flame. So without thinking, I just sat down, stared at the flame. I wasn't expecting anything in particular. And it might have been 3 minutes or it might have been 30. But I left my body and I went into the flame. I was too young to handle that experience. I freaked out and I came back into my body very quickly and I started crying. But from that point, I knew that there's something we're not being told about this realm that we're in, and there's something powerful, and they don't want us to know about it. The events around 9/11, I started researching those events very heavily and discovered that this world is being run by a bunch of psychopaths willing to kill their own people to take profit and control of other lands. So I started speaking out and warning people around that time. In 2016, my son had severe reactions to his 12-month vaccinations. Before we gave him that shot, he was talking, sleeping, eating, playing well, happy. He was a little champion cruising around. The world was at his feet. Then we gave him those shots, and he experienced termination of speech, absent seizures, started waking up 20 times a night screaming, refused to eat, had constant diarrhea, was clung to his mum's hip, wouldn't let me near him. The kid changed overnight. So I let the ball drop and they got my son. As a father, my sole job was to protect my family and I let my guard down. So I started researching vaccines and the pharmaceutical industry. And what I uncovered was horrendous. Their own science proves that they're frauds. if you just take the time to read it yourself. So then I really started speaking out. Because I couldn't sit by any longer and watch innocent children and families go through what my son and my family did, although there's so many other families and children that are way worse off than us. My son's recovering very well. He's back on track. He's sweet. But it's happening every day and it needs to stop. In February of 2019, my brother was murdered in cold blood. He was an innocent victim. And I'll admit, when I watched the news reports of the bail hearing and seeing the young fools smiling with a blasé attitude, knowing they had hundreds of thousands of dollars of barristers supporting them, I wanted to go get those 6 individuals and I wanted to make them pay. My partner walked in at that time and I burst into tears. It was at that point that I realised something dark had got hold of me, and the thought of acting in violence was purely for my own emotional benefit. All men with a Greek background, and I found myself starting to dislike Greeks. That gave me much inner conflict, the prejudice that I've never felt before in that sort of way. I knew straight away that I needed to find it in myself to forgive these humans, the youngest being 16 and the oldest being 60, for their adolescent and subhuman behaviour. I had 9 months to truly forgive them before I was scheduled to travel down to Melbourne for the next court appearance. And I did achieve this as one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. The significance and importance in telling you all this story is because the fact is that humans make mistakes. They didn't bust into that house to murder my brother. In fact, they didn't even know he was there. My brother was a big unit, a heavyweight kickboxer, and they quickly realised they bit off more than they could chew. So they resorted to the iron bars and the sawn-off shotgun, and that's how it all went down. So like I was saying, people make mistakes, and we need to learn to be able to forgive each other, because people make mistakes, and that is part of life, and how we learn, and how we develop as people. And if we can't develop individually, then we can't develop as a unit. If I can forgive this group for their stupidity after they have taken my brother's life, leaving my 5 nieces and nephews without a father, then we all should be able to forgive our loved ones for almost anything. Life is too short to hold on to negative emotions, guys. I freed myself from anger, hate and resentment, and I had to do it myself by looking deep inside me. Just like you'll need to do for yourself if you want to correct your shortcomings. Then we can all move forward together, and that's why this story is relevant today. It also just so happens that the 5th of the 6 men was sentenced yesterday. He'll be out of prison in 3 years. So there's the justice system for you. Anyway, then 2020 came along, marking the biggest scam, the biggest fraud, and the biggest crime ever committed against humanity. Everything I almost 100% knew was the truth of the inner workings of this world for the previous 15 years was verified at the start of 2020. It was evident that I was witnessing the tool that they were using to implement the rollout of the NWO. And that's not a conspiracy. One of the early clips in 2020 that sticks out was from the UK during lockdown. The police were using a drone to monitor people, to making sure they weren't going outside the house or weren't going outside the 5K radius. They were using facial recognition technology. By the time those people got back home, there was an email with a fine waiting for them. Now remember the recurring dream I was telling you about earlier. As soon as I saw this news clip, my mind flashed back to this recurring dream of the police object hovering in the sky, surveilling my family. And a shiver went through my whole body, and I had goosebumps on goosebumps. And that is exactly what it was in my dream. It was a drone. I was 7 years old when I was having these recurring dreams. And I'll tell you now, drones didn't exist in 1992. I was being told of what is to come, and I'll tell you right now that I've been sent here to fight this war. My job is to empower the people, help the people rise up and win the war in doing so. The war lies with you guys. You have the power. No individual does. We have to act as a powerful unit. Everybody needs to start looking for the connection within themselves, the connection with themselves, the connection with each other, the connection with the land, and with the connection above, that faith. Because it exists, and if you can find it, then you'll start seeing all these doors open for you. And when you start walking through those doors, magical things start to happen and you start making progress. Now, I've never had anxiety in my life. When I started to see all these things unfold in 2020, I had 3 nights in a row of anxiety. At the start of 2020, before that, my partner asked me to step back because I was working for a not-for-profit organisation and I was spending a lot of my time doing not-for-profit work on the vaccine awareness front. And I said, "You're right, I'll step back." On the 3rd night of the anxiety, I looked at my partner when we were in bed and I said, "I'm going to go harder than I've ever gone before." And she looked back at me and said, "Babe, do what you got to do and make this stop." And I've been going hard ever since. Together with the people, we've built it from 1,500 people to over 100,000 in just 18 months. We had no money, we had no platform, but we've done it together because we wanted to, because we need to. For my efforts, my family and I have been the subject of police harassment and intimidation campaigns. They park squad cars out the front of our house. They wait for me to go to work so they can have a chat with my missus. I've been charged at 2 events just like this for breaching Chief Health Officer directions. There was 10,000 other people there. 9,999 didn't get charged. I got charged. Speaking of which, guys, if you were at the August 23 or September 5 in 2020, can you please go see Nicola on that tent behind us and give her your name and email? My trial is in February. Okay, I'll make the announcement now. The trial is on February 17th at 9 a.m. at the Magistrates Court. We want to fill it with people in TPR shirts. Well, what I'm asking for is anybody that was at August 23 or September 5 rally of 2020 to go give your name and your email and your number to Nicola. We're going to get some affidavits written up to present this case in a different way. So they've come to work, they've busted into my work and fabricated charges such as they've caught me driving on suspended licence. They follow that up 4 days later, they turn up at my house, come to my gate. I say, "Do you have a warrant to be in?" They say, "No." I say, "Good, I'll call my lawyer." They're there to take my guns and revoke my firearms and my firearms licence, citing recent suspension of driver's licence as one of the reasons why they're taking my firearms and my firearms licence, which I had thrown out in court, by the way. This intimidation campaign was verified by the 150 pages of police intel I have recently received, in which they state the TPR founder Tristan is currently the subject of ongoing police attention. However, it is apparent that he remains dissuaded. Damn straight I remain dissuaded. In fact, all this does is feed the fire inside me and let me know that I'm hitting the mark, and so is the revolution. I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop until I know the future generations are safe. And if it takes my whole life, so be it. Now, in saying that, guys, we have Queensland Police here today. Sergeant Mick Walters, Ben Johnson. Now, I've never had a permit and I've never had permission to do what we do. A lot of other people that have rallies, they beg for the permission of the people we protest against. Bugger that. We the people don't need permission to gather peacefully in a park and discuss issues. We will never ask for permission to do that. I don't care if it's in the middle of a lockdown. If we want to gather peacefully in the park, we're going to gather peacefully in the park. What I was saying is those guys have been doing good work. They've been working with us. Although we don't want the permission, don't need the permission, haven't asked for permits or any of that, they still have offered to work with us. So we work with them and make sure everybody's safe. The Guardians are here. We've got about 15 to 20 Guardians here today. It's an agreement between us and the police that if there's any instigation, if there's any problems, the Guardians will deal with it and escort them out, where the Queensland Police may or may not be waiting for you. So there should be no problems here today, hey guys? We're all a family, hey? Yeah. So here's the call out, guys. If you trust me, if you appreciate my efforts, and you want me to help me keep up the fight, then please consider becoming a donor to my Patreon account. You can do it for $5 a month or as much as you want. If you want to jump on the website, it's www.patreon.com/tricky. There's I think we've got core flute, like little posters. There's one on this tent here, there's one on the merchandise tent, and there's one on the Connect tent. You can just scan a QR code or type in the website, and then you can become a donor. And the reasons, I've listed the reasons there. I've only just started being able to actually sit up here and ask for help back, but it's come to the point now where something's got to give. If it doesn't, I'll probably either lose my job or end up in a divorce or have to step back from this. And I want none of those three things to happen, and the only way that can continue to happen is with your support. Right guys, on that note, I'd like you to invite the brothers and sisters here today to invite our first speaker onto the stage, an author and a beautiful woman named Lillian Grace. Here she is, creeping up on me. Do you want...
Hello. Fantastic to be here. My mother was born in Poland in 1939. When she was only a few months old, she and her extended family were sent to the Warsaw Ghetto, being Jewish. When she was 3, my grandmother, who had learnt or heard rumours about concentration camps, came to her and knelt in front of her and said, "From now on, your name is no longer Carmela, you are Wanda. And we are not Jewish, we are Catholic." She was 3. From that point on, they were on the run and in hiding for the rest of the war. You can imagine having a childhood like that. When my mother was an adult growing up, she had a lot of questions about life, the meaning of life, and how to protect oneself against madness like that. And so she accrued a very interesting library of books. And they had themes about the power of the mind and human potential. And I read those books as a teenager and found them very inspiring. So when my son was playing around with cloaks and wands, playing Harry Potter games when he was 9 years old, I watched him and I thought, wouldn't it be great if these kids knew they could do magic for real? And so that thought was the gestation point for my first novel called The Mastery Club, in which a home-educated girl invites a group of peers to form a club to support and challenge each other in achieving their goals and dreams by learning about their mind, universal laws, visualization, things like that. And then I wrote a sequel called The Hidden Order. And The Hidden Order presented the idea that the world looks chaotic and unfair, but there is a hidden order when you know what to look for. And that brings us to today. The world looks chaotic and unfair, but there is something amazing, wonderful and transformational going on at the moment. This great awakening we're all experiencing is an awakening to our power and our potential. People all around the world are connecting, are unifying. We are recognizing that we were asleep at the wheel, that we are the co-creators of what's happened, and we're starting to step up and take responsibility for our lives, our health, and the state of the world, because we've now seen who's been pushing the buttons behind the curtain, right? You might know the story of the boy and the butterfly, and it's a brilliant one that I'd like to share with anyone who hasn't heard it and to remind the rest of you. A boy is watching a butterfly struggle to emerge from a cocoon. And he wants to help it, so he grabs scissors and little snip here and there and opens the cocoon for the butterfly. And so the butterfly just flops out. Its damp little body just crawls a little and it dies. And the boy's devastated because he didn't want to harm the butterfly, he wanted to help. So he goes to his grandfather and said, "Why did the butterfly die?" And his grandfather said, "In the process of squeezing its way through the cocoon, the moisture would have been drained from its wings, and so the wings would be dry and light and would be able to lift it in flight. So by rescuing it, he actually did it a disservice." Well, the metaphor is clear, isn't it? We have our own cocoon, our own birthing canal when we enter the world, and the challenges don't stop there, because some degree of struggle was designed into life. We are meant to struggle to build strength and resourcefulness and resilience, and look what's happening. The creativity, the resourcefulness, the connection, the awareness, all of that is being birthed as a result of these challenges that we're experiencing right now. Many of you are going to consider home educating your children now, or doing an alternative form of education. And I'd like to share a story about my experiences in that, because I home educated my 3 children, and they're now in their late 20s and early 30s, and it was difficult. It's much more difficult and confronting than dropping your kids off at the school gate, but so worthwhile, really, really worthwhile. So here's a story from our experience. My son at the age of 14 was struggling with maths. He didn't enjoy it. He'd throw his maths book across the room. You know, he would complain and whinge, and he just wasn't confident. Anyway, I thought, right, enough of this. We enrolled him in a tuition program, drills and repetition and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, he didn't like that either, and it didn't help with his confidence. But here's the interesting thing about this story. When we enrolled him, he was tested. 14-year-old, he came up as grade 4 maths ability. I knew that wasn't the case because he was faster at mental arithmetic than me, but that's how he tested up in that environment. That same year, I took him to do work experience with a staircase builder. When I went to pick him up at the end of that first day, that builder said to me, "Your son is going to be a frigging millionaire. His maths is better than the year 10 boys that come through here from the local high schools, and his work ethic is amazing." I want to just finish by encouraging you, thank you. I want to encourage you to trust yourselves and trust your children. We were designed, your children were designed to learn. Schools were designed to dumb us down and have us follow orders. In the context of real meaningful work in this staircase builder's workshop, working on a staircase that's going to be put into someone's house and have a real family use it, he woke up, his brain switched on, his memory was active, and he was successful. Remember that, trust your children, trust yourselves, enjoy the journey. If you're not confident of what I'm saying, check out one of my mentors, John Taylor Gatto, who went and looked at the real origins of education and discovered why schools were set up very much to create a slave race, and who really believed in empowering kids to follow their interests and make use of the community around them. As my very last comment, or last two comments, one of my other books is called Power of the Light. It's about health and government propaganda, believe it or not. I wrote it a few years ago. I'm going to donate this one to Tricky and TPR. Any one of you who'd like to, auction it off, any one of you who'd like to buy it, the money goes straight to Tricky. Come and see me, all right? And or else I'll leave it up here with him. So that's that, and then I want to remind you, thank you, I want to remind you also about Tricky's Patreon site. As you've heard, he works selflessly, tirelessly for so many years now, and working full-time in his job, even overtime in his job, raising the family, and then as soon as he gets home from work, he puts on his TPR hat, and he's doing all of this. So please respect and honour his commitment, how he's working for us, and do consider that patreon.com/tricky, $5 or more a month, to support him in what he's doing for us. Thank you very much.
Anyway, mainstream media will say that was a lot less. But I think there's definitely, I think it's not as big as the last,
Apparently the guys, oh shit, sorry, I scared myself. Apparently the guys down the back can't hear. If everybody that can hear can put your hand in the air so we know how far the sound's travelling. There's people at the back wall putting their hands up, so we should be right. Or maybe you just gotta yell. Thanks, Liliane, for that. And she's right. I do believe that what we're experiencing here is just a blessing in disguise. We have to go through the tough times. We had to be woken up. For about 15 years, I've been trying to speak to people and make people aware of what's going on. It's been like talking to a brick wall. 2020 marked the start of that mass awakening and the revolution, and now it's on, guys. So stick to it. The numbers are increasing very quickly, and it's a numbers game at the moment. Keep getting those numbers on board. So the latest TPR initiative is the TPR Connect groups. These groups are aimed at strengthening the communities as the first step in creating our own society. The 8 groups, the first one is the TPR Connect youth groups. Now guys, I want to stress the importance of these Connect groups, guys. This is the solution going forward. If you want to leave the past behind, that society that was controlled and run with manipulation and surveillance on its mind, if you want to leave that behind and start a new one, this is how we're going to do it, guys. This is the first time that I've felt like there's a solution here. This is the first step of it, these Connect groups. Strengthen the communities. The TPR Connect youth groups, connecting like-minded youngsters. Now I've got a theory I call the wall theory. I want everybody to picture a wall here, all right? Sort of my generation and this way. That's for my generation and the older generations. They don't really care too much what happens to this side of the wall. Because as this wall moves closer and pushes us one day closer to death, slowly we're dying out. Their crosshair is on the generations number 1 and 2 on this side of the wall. Because they know if they get generations 1 and 2, every future generation on this side is being taken care of. We must realise who they're targeting here, guys, and refocus and put things in place now to educate our children in the right way. Create free thinkers, create children that want to ask questions, not be obedient slaves, intelligent enough to operate the machines but dumb enough not to ask questions. TPR Connect business owners groups, creating business alliances and hosting legal information sessions. Now, we've all seen cafes and restaurants all around Queensland being harassed lately. Bar Wonder in Toowoomba, No Ego Cafe in Ormo, the Apron Cafe in Capalaba, and so on and so forth. Now, what needs to happen is these guys have to form an alliance. It doesn't have to just be cafes. This Connect group is every type of business owner. They get together, they create a powerful alliance. So when something goes wrong, they can communicate with each other and help each other out. Leaving the old past behind where they were at each other's throats to earn the extra dollar, the new society and the new community calls for people to be compassionate and loving towards one another and understanding that we're all on the same team here. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take a readjustment. We're going to have to unschool ourselves first before we can unschool our children. We have to learn to be able to love our brothers and sisters in our communities and start treating them like equal family. So that's what that TPR Connect group's about. Now I want to announce an operation today, guys. The cops are going to love this one. I don't really care. It's called Operation Scramble. Right? I want everybody here to call a business that has chosen to discriminate against a human based on their medical decision. I want them to call the cops and tell them that they are serving unvaccinated people. So they don't know where to go and harass. There's only a limited amount of resources. You can't mess with that. You might try and use force on us, we'll outsmart you. Because we're guerrilla warfare. Alright, so clear that up. And this is the thing, guys. Business owners are so important right now. They have the opportunity to either create or disband apartheid. Apartheid used to be based on skin colour, whether you're black or white. If you're black, you wouldn't get served. Now in Australia today, apartheid is here. And if you choose not to get an experimental injection with no known side effects, well, we know the side effects. If you choose not to get that, you aren't let in certain places. The business owner is so important. They can enable or disable apartheid. This is why, bad luck, you make your choice. The Boundary Hotel, never, ever, ever drink at the Boundary Hotel again. They made their choice, right? The Stock Exchange, never drink at the Stock Exchange. They've made their choice. That might sound harsh, bad luck. This is the future generations we're talking. If you're going to sit there and create a society where our children will be bullied into taking dangerous medical drugs, you're not my friend, and I will not support you. So that Operation Scramble again, and make sure you hit the mark. Find businesses that are discriminating against people, call the cops and let them know that they're serving unvaccinated people. Now the police will be on our side about this. They've only got limited resources. The police don't want to be harassing business owners and people. They don't want to be doing that. So this will get to a point where they're getting all these fake calls all around the place. Eventually they will have to pull the pin on that part of their service and they'll be thanking us later. So go hard, guys. Operation Scramble starts today. Like I said, they're probably here putting a plan together. I don't really give a shit. TPR Connect industry groups. Connecting people within specific industries such as education, healthcare, logistics and trades. Now we all know the majority of the unions are corrupt as hell, just like the government, that they're all taking brown paper bags under the table. There are some unions that are good, there's always exceptions to the rules. However, we don't really need the unions to a certain degree. This is free to join. TPR isn't trying to make any money out of this, we're trying to empower the people, empower the societies. If you sign up to these Connect groups, the example I give is construction. Plumbers, chippies, sparkies, everyone in the construction industries joins the TPR Connect industry group. When one specific group is getting bullied for whatever reason it may be, they can all pull the pin, call a strike action. We don't need to be paying fees to unions. We don't need to be getting permission from unions to do this. We are the keeper of our own futures. We are the people. We are the power. Don't ever forget that. We just have to organise ourselves more. TPR Connect political groups, connecting politically active people. Now don't mistake this for me promoting politics. I'm not. In fact, the politicians, the political parties and the political system is the whole damn reason we're in this mess today. Don't ever forget that. The political system was designed by corrupt people for corrupt people to do corrupt things, and if you think you can cast a vote and change this society, you're kidding yourself. It won't happen. If you want change, you must make it yourself. And this is why we're utilising things now, and this is why we're getting building the numbers now so we can make change, guys. The power is with the people. That is the truth. And they've had all sorts of offers from all sorts of parties, and I'm telling them no. They've got no chance of getting me on board with that rubbish. TPR Connect Social. Connecting people to the local support groups so you know you are never alone. Now guys, this is extremely important. Social might make it sound like it's nothing important. This is where it all starts. You start meeting people in your community, you start forming the bond, you start learning to love each other, you start treating these people like your brothers and sisters. Then all of a sudden there's someone worth fighting for. You start growing your own food, sharing resources, sharing your food, trading, swapping. This is where it all starts, guys. This is empowering the communities. These small, simple things like hanging out with your neighbours. TPR Connect, guys, get onto it. TPR Connect community school groups, connecting teachers, parents and students. Now I've spoken with the principal of a principal group in Queensland, and they're saying there's 25 to 30,000 teachers not going back in term 1. That's because they've either been stood down for not taking the jab, or they've left because they're not taking the jab. And there's many students not going back for the exact same reason. So what we're doing is connecting the teachers with the parents and students so they can start homeschool environments. Because even in the best case situation, they condition our kids to be obedient workers, slaves. We need to condition our kids in a positive way to make them free thinkers, intelligent beings, asking questions and coming up with their own ways of living. That's what it's about. And here's my favourite, the TPR Connect non-violent guerrilla activism. Connecting hardcore activists. Now it has to be non-violent, guys.
I do know him.
Because here's the thing, if you don't have the numbers and you want to get violent, you get bashed. But if you do have the numbers, then you don't need violence. Because you've got the numbers, you just be smart and you make things happen.
Oh gosh, 13. Thanks for the 13 people who are tuning in here. Johnny on this one, he does some work for the independent
TPR Connect health groups, connecting like-minded health practitioners with their community and connecting the community with health practitioners. Now we've all heard the stories, eh? The baby's born, the father has 30 seconds with their newborn kid and then has to leave the room. Bugger that. We've all heard the story, people aren't getting allowed into hospitals because they're not wearing a mask or they're not vaccinated, but they need medical attention. So you've got a place, a public hospital system that's not allowing the public in. They're coercing them and blackmailing them. So we know what they're capable of. They control us and manipulate us and bully us. So we start our own things. They've warned us now. If you think that they're just going to wind this stuff back and let us back in, you're kidding yourselves. Yes, they probably are going to stop the mandate. The mandates will eventually drop away. But that's because they've achieved a high vaccination rate and they've achieved that task. That's the first step complete. They'll roll it on to step 2 and step 3. Create our own communities and societies now, guys. This is a warning to everybody here. We have an opportunity. This is day 9 of our new society. It was day 8 and day 9. Last Thursday was the first day when we did our first TPR Connect group. The first day of the tour, we did a mini tour around South East Queensland, announcing the new communities in the society. It comes down to you. If you want to be able to save the future generations, it comes down to your hard work now. Our next guest speakers will discuss with you their motivation behind the creation of QHPA, which is the Queensland Health Practitioners Alliance. Alliance? Yeah, Alliance, I would say no. And how that ties in with the TPR Connect health groups. Please welcome Simon and Karen.
What I was going to say is they're going to go to do the march. I reckon it's not going to be too long, maybe a matter of minutes. 10 minutes or so.
Closer, okay.
15.
Hi everyone, and I'm Kaz from QHPA, the Queensland Health Practitioner Alliance, and a couple of short months ago you may have seen me and Simon down in the Botanical Gardens when in November we spoke very, very briefly to share about our 1 week old alliance. And I'm pleased to say now, from that small group that we started back at the beginning when we heard about the mandates that required us to have 2 injections in order to continue to practice the careers that we love as health professionals serving our community, we obviously said no, and we now have 5,000 members strong.
I'm just going to have to interrupt very quickly. Sorry, I do apologise deeply. Guys, we've had some dramas. What we need is somebody in the crowd with a generator, somebody that maybe live close, within, maybe half an hour there and back. We need the generator for the march, guys. So if anybody has access to a generator, maybe a 2 kVA and above, please come see the Guardians behind the tent. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. So 5,000 people strong now, and you have to ask yourself why many of us health professionals are willing to walk away from careers that we've done for, in many cases, decades, and spent many, many thousands of hours and thousands of dollars in our training. And that is because we don't like this injection, we don't like these mandates, the coercion and the censorship that's being dished out to us from Canberra and through the state government show directives as well. So if you'd like to know a little bit about why, and we know that informed consent is necessary in order to take any kind of medical procedure in this country, apparently. And to give informed consent, you don't actually need to be coerced, you need to be giving it freely with all the information that you need to make an informed choice. Now, clearly that's not happening. I don't know anyone who has had the vaccine that's been given all the information that they need to get. You may be aware of some of the documents that have come out from Pfizer in recent weeks and months, and we're on an open letter to the government with COVID Medical Network and the Red Union as well, in order to try and raise awareness about the fact that Pfizer has covered up thousands of deaths, and we know that the TGA reporting stats that we have in Australia are incredibly underreported. So I know for myself that was not a choice I wanted to make, and we have many different types of practitioners, and many of them need to have a body in order to work, meaning they could be acupuncturists, they could be chiropractors, they could be dentists, we've got surgeons, we've got radiographers, all sorts of people who actually can't do telehealth and be able to continue to practice. So some of us are able to do that, but it's not a win in my opinion. This last couple of weeks I've seen many jab injured people and heard from them. And I know firsthand what's been going on for the people who willingly went and got this vaccination and have been injured. And I have to say, I'm disgusted at the way the medical profession has been handling these people. It's not on. They come to see us as, I'm a naturopath, so they're coming because we have answers. We understand the body and are trying to support natural health and restoring detoxification and support to the health. But they're left with cardiovascular issues, heart issues, and neurological issues. None of them are able to get the $5,000 measly compensation unless you've spent a night in hospital and you have a diagnosis. Conveniently, most of them don't get a diagnosis and they go in and out of hospital without spending a night there. So they're left after months of no employment, still injured and still not being able to receive a cent for their work. I've got people right across Australia contacting me, so this is just not on. We're done with this. We want to see a return to a healthcare system which actually promotes health, not promotes disease and disease management that we're seeing right now. The system is broken, we all can see that, and we need to build a really strong alliance, as Tricky was saying, to bring together the community and the practitioners, all of us who want to come together to help you. We love our jobs and we want to help you. I'm going to hand over to Simone now to share a little bit more. Thanks.
Hey everyone, my name's Simone Matthews. I'm a naturopath of 25 years, and Karen and I came together 2 months ago to create QHPA, Queensland Health Practitioners Alliance. We started with 2, and in 2 months' time we are already 5,000 plus members strong. So as Karen said, 5,000 members, we're made up of thousands of health practitioners, doctors, nurses, dentists, complementary health therapists, allied health. And we've come together in 2 parts. The first part is to say no. To say no to coercion, to say no to forced jabs in return for our jobs and being able to serve you. And most importantly, to say no to the politicalisation of healthcare in Queensland, but also Australia. We say no because health is sacred in any community. Without health, there is no wealth in community. there's no heart, there's no connection, communities begin to crumble. You could say, like, all of you would have healthcare providers. Who here sees a doctor, a dentist, a massage therapist? Put your hand up. Every single one of you work in some way in your life with a health practitioner. Without us, communities and health begins to fall apart. So whilst we've initially come together to say no, and we are taking political action, and we are also taking legal action to push back, the bigger aspect of why we've come together is to say yes. We're saying yes to a completely new, envisioned healthcare system here in Queensland. And our vision doesn't stop there, because in the coming weeks we're also going to be rolling out that vision to all of Australia. So what does an envisioned healthcare system look like? What can all of you envision in your heart that you would like to receive from health? We call it like the 5 Ps, or the 5 principles of a reverent, connected, loving and integrative medicine healthcare system. The first aspect of that is patient-centred care, where you as consumers of healthcare actually form the basis of a healthcare system. If you kind of envisioned our current healthcare system like as a pyramid, up the top you see governments, you see bureaucrats, regulatory agencies, big pharma, dictating to you as consumers what your healthcare needs are, how to do it, when to do it, and then we'll dangle the carrot and you can keep your jobs if you do what we say. A healthcare system as patient-centred puts you in the driver's seat. You determine what healthcare needs are in Australia. The second P is parent-centred care. Nothing comes between a parent and their child ever. That relationship is sacred, and a revisioned or revised or a renewed and vitalised healthcare system honours the sacredness of that and reveres that wisdom that a parent has about their child. The third aspect, the third P, is privacy. It is important that you can see your healthcare practitioner, and that is a sacred relationship, a sacred space of caring. So you can openly ask questions, but your healthcare provider isn't gagged from telling you the truth because they revere you and your health. The fourth P is proactive or education oriented. So rather than dictate or being told what you need, how can a healthcare system be able to support you in your needs, to educate you? So rather than say, hey, there's a virus, let's lock you up, get you out so you don't get fresh air or sunlight, it says, how can we support you and educate you in being able to build your immune system and help your beautiful health, vitality and wellness? And finally, this is the big thing that we're building this new healthcare system on. And Tricky actually spoke about this when he talked about the candle earlier on. This is the fifth P, and it's to say that you are powerful. Each and every one of you. When you connect with that power within your bodies, that higher wisdom that comes to you through your heart, we have the capacity when we come together as community to create change. We're now, as QHPA, coming to all of you because as health practitioners, we can't do this by ourselves because this patient-driven, community-driven healthcare system comes from all of you. So we need your help in order to make it happen. The first thing I'd love you to do is to visit our website, qhpa.org. sign up to our free newsletter, find out more about what we're doing and how we can help to connect you in with this vision of creating a new healthcare centre. If you would like to talk to us more, our stand is over there near the TP Connect, as well as the face painting for the kids. We'd love to have a chat with you and say more. Or on our website, we also have a My Cause, and we would love any donations to help support the vision that we're creating with all of you as our community. So thank you.
See how like Johnny, Rebel News, you know, all that, they're allowed inside that. I wonder how you get the pass to get inside.
Thank you,
there.
Simon and Karen. They're doing great work to get that initiative off the ground.
Do you reckon I should ask the Guardian?
We were about to go for the march, guys, but we have just found a generator, so we're going to hook that up to the truck and the speakers. So we're going to chuck another speaker on first. My apologies for that. The next speaker is TPR Legal Counsel, a barrister of more than 4 decades experience, criminal prosecutor. He loves hammering corrupt police, does it for a living. His name is Jerry. We'll jump on the stage. Welcome, Jerry.
I actually thought it was very much like Melbourne, so I brought my umbrella. I've got some good news and some bad news. I think the last time I spoke at one of these rallies was a couple of months ago, and I told you things were starting to happen. Okay? The bad news, perhaps first, is that our wonderful Premier is built a concentration camp in Toowoomba, and it's open. And she'd probably like to fit all of us into it, but we hope, with the other bit of news I got for you, the good news is maybe we will put her there. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm a practicing barrister and I'm a former Crown prosecutor. And there has been, in the last several months, an alliance between a group of people formed. Most of these people are former law enforcement personnel, Queensland Police, Victoria Police, New Zealand Police, British Police, people who have left because they were conscientious objectors and they didn't want to subject themselves or their families to risk to their lives. Well, they've woken up. Most of them that are part of the group that I am of are people of great integrity, and they want to do their job. Okay? Some of the good news initially comes now out of the UK. Those of you may have read or seen on video that the Metropolitan Police in the United Kingdom has now accepted formal complaints, not just in relation to the jabs, but also in relation to the Midazolam murders that have been ongoing before COVID even started. Now, the major instigator behind that is Mark Sexton, a former British constable. And he's gathered some lawyers and others around him, and they have laid a complaint. That complaint has currently been given an appropriate investigation number, and it's been assigned to a task force of metropolitan detectives headed off by a superintendent of police. Besides that current complaint that the police are now looking into, I am told as early as this morning that people are lining up at police stations and filing more and more and more complaints. For those who are looking for a job, the police are going to be recruiting again, but they're not going to be able to ask for jabs because they won't be able to do their work. But the reality is that there's been, in December, there's been a private prosecution filed, a beginning private prosecution, meaning that police are not involved. Private citizens in the British type of legal system may also lay formal criminal charges. Now that was filed by a fellow called Michael Obrenicia. Michael is a movie director of all things, but a very, very clever and astute activist who's been behind it. I have been asked to advise and review the evidence of the Midazolam murders that he has filed in Britain, and I'm in the process of finalizing that, and I am in the process of having times arranged to speak with the superintendent of police at Hammersmith, where the investigation is starting, to start looking at the Midazolam murders. Now, those who don't know what that's all about, a very short thumbnail sketch is, Midazolam is a drug that's given to people near the end of their lives, supposedly so they can die quicker. Not necessarily better, but they claim it is, but quicker. It is estimated that the numbers of people over the last 5 or 6 years that have been killed with Midazolam by the British, Australian, and New Zealand and Canadian medical establishment runs not into hundreds or thousands, it runs into thousands of people. And those complaints that have been filed in Britain relate to those killings. Also, I should indicate to you that the group that I am working with, and again I say, I'm speaking about across Australia, officers from Queensland, Victoria, from New South Wales, Northern Territory, and New Zealand are commencing to investigate the deaths of those people. And we will need help. So at the end of this, I'll give you some information that if any of you know anything, we would like you to communicate with us because we're collecting this information. The initial defendants are going to be the people who've administered those drugs unlawfully, either by force or deception. And that amounts to murder, okay? So that's ongoing. And the good news is that we will be commencing investigation. Well, we have commenced investigations, but we are prepared to be laying formal private criminal prosecutions in relation to this type of corruption. There is a group that's going to be formally formed and created, perhaps by the end of February, which sole purpose is privately, that is not as a government, as a non-government organization, to investigate, publicly expose, and privately prosecute corruption throughout the governments of this country, New Zealand, and Great Britain. The members of these groups are rapidly growing as many law enforcement officers are leaving the services of a government they no longer trust and are joining us to investigate the criminals in the government. Just to give you an example of how seriously corrupt the system is and how it's actually serving us, is that initially the police in this state, by the Chief Commissioner of Police, were told that those who had any medical, religious, or any other reasonable grounds for an exemption should submit those exemptions. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, none of those exemptions, and many of them worthy, were given anything more but a blanket refusal. However, shortly thereafter, secretly, but as no secrets can be kept forever, information leaked out that the Chief Commissioner of the Queensland Police gave blanket, I stress this, blanket exemptions, and I believe without even people having to apply, to all the senior officers in Queensland Police. All right? Now, I thank them for this because it's woken up the rank and file of the Queensland Police to the fact that they don't give a damn about them either. So now they're working with us. And this corruption will be exposed and it'll be submitted to litigation. So that's the good news. Things are happening.
Actually, no, don't worry. It's okay.
Let me make a further comment about the leading